it's the Tipsy Chicks. Welcome to our Distillery Diary episode.
And here we are down in Columbus, Ohio with Wendy Peevich, the master of all things Archer Elin. Yes. So we did a tour with her. She'll see some photos later. She gave us, how it was created, and we want her to basically tell you her story. And then we're going to try one of her newer products, and then we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, for sure.
Good?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for coming down to Columbus, Ohio. I hope you guys have had a great time, a great day with me so far.
Fantastic.
And I'm looking forward to having a nice chinwag, just to hang out.
Yeah.
Where I just kind of not working, I'm just talking, which is nice.
Yeah. So if you could start from the beginning.
Okay.
You're from Zimbabwe, and
Yes.
how you transitioned from there coming here, and how you got into bourbon.
Do we even have time? So
We do.
I am, we got a lot of whiskey here too. But I am half Malawian, half Zimbabwean. My mother is Zimbabwean. My dad is Malawian.
Okay.
So that's kind of how Wendy comes to be, right? I grew up most of my life abroad in Zimbabwe, and then a cup of coffee in Kenya and the United Kingdom. I am number 3 of 4 children.
Oh.
And basically I'm the rebel. I'm the one that goes the opposite direction all the time. And, come to think of it, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, dang, that's why I'm the way I am right now. But all my siblings live in England. And when time came, my best friend was moving to Iowa. Now, please understand something. We're African. We have no idea what the landscape of America looks like. And so during my generation, my era, the next step after high school is, and we all went Cambridge education. And so the next step is you either go to England, you go to Australia, or America. And I didn't want to go to England. I was like, oh my God, it's stuffy. And, I'm not doing that. And so we used to go to, I think it was we had an American library. I have to ask my cousin, but it was an American library, and it was pretty cool. It had all things American in there. So we would go in there and do our research. My best friend, who has the same birthday as I am, Tendai, was like, I know where I'm going. And she's like, I'm going to Iowa.
Of all states.
But we didn't know. We didn't know what we were talking about, because the pictures that they had, and they were gorgeous, green and everything. I'm like, oh yeah, Iowa's great. You do that. And at the time, I played tennis state level. I was pretty good. And so I started looking at schools here. So my best friend goes to Iowa. All my siblings go to England. And I tell my parents, like, I'm not going to England. I'm not. And I just decided I didn't want to have the safety net. And so that happened. And I found that a couple schools. I found Georgetown. I got accepted into Georgetown, University of Dayton, one other one, and then Marymount College in Palo Verde. Marymount College. And so I thought, it's a Catholic school. I can get a tennis scholarship. My mother will be happy. My mother's a devout Catholic. And I went to a private British Catholic school, just to give you an idea. And so I got a scholarship, and I was like, bet, I'm in. So we do all the paperwork. And let me tell you something, being an immigrant and all this other stuff, it's painful. It's a lot of paperwork that you have to do. Mm-hmm. And expensive. And so I do everything, right? And I'm thinking, I'm going to buy myself, because you watch, I grew up watching, Saved by the Bell,
Yep.
Teen Valley High, the twins,
Yeah.
and they show you, like, you have the 2-door Jeep with nothing on it and a surfboard. And I was like, I could have that and my tennis bag in the back. I'm set. That was my dream in my poor little head. And I remember I was like, bet. My friend's gone to Iowa. It's great. And she's not telling me where she landed. That's the other problem. And so I got in up until I think it was 3 months, because, you're in contact with your school and immigration and all this other stuff. And I'll never forget it. We were in Kenya. And my mom looks at the brochure. I gave her the wrong Marymount College brochure. It had the kids partying and, like, having a social life. And my mom was like, my parents are African. And she's like, you're going to California for what? To party. You're not doing that. And she went to the next list. She goes, University of Dayton. And she saw the church of University of Dayton.
Yeah.
She's like, she only saw the church because it's Catholic. And she's like, you're done. You're going to Columbus. No, Dayton, Ohio. the way my life was crushed. And as a teenager at the time, you think your life is over. It's not. Everything happens for a reason. But long story short, that's what happened. And I came here for education. I thought I was going to become a corporate attorney. I thought I wanted to do criminal law. Then I thought, oh my God, I watched too many American shows. I might get killed. That's not happening. Snapped. Snapped got me. And I was like, you know what? I could do mergers and acquisitions. You know, I can play around with other people's money. You know, I don't have to do it. I'll play with other people's money. And finance, I did finance. That's what my initial degree was in 2008 happened. And, you know, I was like, shit, now what do I do? So my second career choice was, oh, I can become a cardiothoracic surgeon. The lies I told myself. I am an immigrant. I'm going to pay double what an American pays. So here I am, you know, confident, you know, going to schools going, I want to do cardiothoracic surgery. And they're like, yeah, it's going to be like $500,000 minimum. And I said, no, okay. And so I was like, what's the next best step? What's the next best path? And I found out that nursing was an avenue I could take. And so I started from the bottom, from nothing, like LPN. Then I worked my way to an AD, and then I worked my way to a bachelor's degree. When I got to bachelor's degree, I had a mentor who's an amazing human being. Everybody in the Columbus community knows him, Wyman McCary. And he was my mentor, and I thought I would do trauma medicine. I fell in love with it. Trauma medicine is amazing. And then I graduated, and it was like, well, do I do trauma medicine, neurology, or cardiology? Neurology, who cares, right? And I was exploring. I'm watching brain and stuff now. And I loved trauma, and so I was stuck. And so I ended up choosing cardiology, became a cardiac nurse, and the rest is history. And then I met a boy, and then he trapped me. And here I am 24 years later. Jesus. No, I love him very much, but that's the story. Yeah.
And so
No.
you went on, though, to be a nurse practitioner,
I went on to become a nurse practitioner. I did.
because that's a lot, too.
Yeah.
It's all right. I was a nurse practitioner for like a cup of coffee.
Taking the
It's not very...
Oh, we're not? I'm not allowed? Oh,
She was
I
ready.
can't drink my own whiskey.
She's
Dang.
ready to go.
But
Not yet.
but yes. Essentially, long story short, that's kind of like the introduction, the preface to the novel.
Okay,
Yeah.
can, what about...
Drinking water because I can't drink my own
Right,
stuff.
not yet. I wanted to talk about it. Tell us your transition from nurse practitioner to bourbon. Like, what pushed you down that road?
Okay.
And for you who don't know, she's a super taster. We've talked about that in our early podcasts.
Oh,
And so
Thank you.
she's the head blender for Middle West, right?
mm-hmm. Helpful.
And she does her own blending for her own brand. Like, she's the one. So talk about how you got into that, and also why rye,
Oh.
right?
So I got married, you know, what's a saying? You guys don't have to help me. Why do people say 70
7 years ago.
Yes.
What's the measurement of years? Like,
I
is that
forget
like
what a
long
score
year?
is.
What's a score?
87.
87? Well, scores of years ago, right?
Okay.
And yes, it's one of those speeches, right? But a long time ago, I met this boy who trapped me, and we got married. And
Trip.
he did. I'm still here.
Smitten still. That's good.
But so at the time, you know, I met his uncle. Unfortunately, both uncle and aunt are no longer here. They've passed on. And his uncle gifted me a bottle of Blanton's when I got married and I finished school. Because I think we got married around about the time I finished school. It was around about that time. And his Uncle Billy left. I think it's Billy. No, Ben. And so he passed on, and he gave me a bottle of Blanton's. So I tried it, and I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. Cool. Didn't think anything of it at the time. And I think, fast forward many years later, COVID happens. Many years later, COVID happens. And at the time, I now need, and this is like end of 2019 going into 2020, because we're now hearing the reports in 2019, December into 2020. And I do remember I was in grad school at the time. And so I was just kind of like, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, we don't know what to expect. And then March happened, and shit hit the fan, right?
Yes.
And during that time, we were on the cardiac floor, And I miss my 3 silver team. I miss them very much. They're awesome. I worked on a cardiothoracic step-down floor. And during that time, now things are getting worse. And everybody, we were getting deployed, you know what that was. And we were all getting deployed. So people that were on the cardiothoracic floor, you can go ICU or intermediate. You're trained that way. All of my coworkers went to ICU. Where did I go? ED. I was the only nurse from my floor that went to ED. And I was terrified because I had asthma and I didn't know what to expect. And that was a very isolating time in my life because I was so scared for my husband and, my neighbors and things like that. And they knew I was a nurse. And so it was so bad, right? I would be driving into my neighborhood and I would stop the garage opener well before I got to my house, and I immediately would drive in, shut the door, no one would see me. And I had this whole like Area 51 type of situation I had to do before I was in contact with my family. And a lot of us had PTSD because of the things that we witnessed and did. And I needed a creative outlet. So I was like, okay, I'm in grad school, I'm broke. I want to see what's going on with this like whiskey situation. And I was like, you know what? I think I can afford $50 every paycheck and I can go to the store and see what's out there. Uncle Bill, he gave me the Blantons and I kind of liked it. It was cool. And so I did that. So I was very intrigued by people in Ohio. They like Sazerac a lot. Weller, Blantons, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, you know what? Let me go try and get a bottle off the shelf of Sazerac. I lied.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And so I go to the cashier and little did I know what I was asking. I was like, hey, can I try some Blantons or whatever? And he looked at me like I had a third eye because I didn't understand. And, he basically was like, I have nothing. So I just went down the shelves and I started looking at what was $50 and under that I could purchase. And Old Granddad Bonded was one of them. Amazing, right? And I just started going down the rabbit hole and I took pictures on my Instagram, Long Branch, and, Tater influencer me, and of which I hate that word influencer. I'm not one, but I started posting, what was that one? Matthew McConaughey's Wild Turkey one, all these kind of cool ones. So every money that I got, I did it. Up until I started following this content creator, Jack Begredu, Huge Sommelier. And I remember, I don't know how, we started getting in contact and I was in grad school and stuff like that. And I found out that he was going to Colorado to do a barrel pick.
Okay.
Right? The dots are now connecting.
Yes.
And I had a little bit of money, COVID money I had saved up. And I said, hey, you're going to do a barrel pick in Colorado. I've never done a barrel pick before. What does that mean? He's like, just come out. I was like, bet, don't worry. I will find a way to get there. And I think that's a hidden strength of mine, is that I underestimate myself in figuring things out. Like where there's a will, there's a way I can make it. But as humans, we give ourselves limitations as to what we can and cannot do.
Very true.
By golly, I found it. I bought my plane ticket, got my little rental car, and then my hotel. And went there and met him and his friends. And the first distillery we went to was 291.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's where I did my first barrel pick, at 291 in Colorado.
Wow.
And that's how the story begins.
And then how did you realize your palate is what it is so that you would start blending more?
Oh.
You know what I mean? And then, because then you took the leap for Archer Eland, what we're getting to.
At the time, it wasn't clicking. The math wasn't mathing. I just was like, oh, this smells like this. And everybody's looking at me like, what the?
Yeah.
But I don't understand what's happening. And so I did it a couple more times. This is about 2 years before I realized that I want to fall in love, or I am falling in love with blending. And I started doing podcasts. I did podcasts for a while, and I talked about the different types of products that were out there, because everybody is so focused on mainstream, but there's so much more that is out there. And I started talking about that, trying to tell that story. And it wasn't until 2023 that I discovered, I had my little syringe, little cup at home.
Mixing
I
stuff.
was mixing things.
I love it.
And I was like, oh, okay, I think I kind of do this. I can do it. But by that time, the Penelope chapter has already begun. So that blending effect started during the time of Penelope.
Okay.
But, you
Yeah.
know, there's that station. So that's kind of how it happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. So it's kind of like, they say the old poor man's Pappy, right? Weller Antique and Weller 12.
Yes.
60-40.
Oh, really?
That's supposedly what most people feel Pappy tastes like. Now we're talking 10-year, not 23.
Oh, because I was like, I know they're lying.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, it's the blending component and sensory component, I think, started developing while I was in the Penelope era. But
Which, to explain to the audience,
yeah.
You had left nursing or
oh, so
had to.
that station in
pursue
life was very interesting. So I now graduate. COVID has happened. It's here.
Yeah.
And I graduate, I finish, I'm a nurse practitioner now. And I take on a job in rural Ohio. That was rough. That was a rough experience. And so I wasn't there long. I practiced maybe for a year, if I remember correctly, I think. But during around that time, it was 2022, I think 2022, end of 2021. And a friend of mine is flying in, a former friend of mine is flying into Columbus. Oh, we're flying in. We're meeting cows. We're having a meeting. I don't know what cows is, you know. And I was like, I'll come and see you. You know, it's good to see you again because we did the barrel pick together. So we go to Buckeye Bourbon House, which is a bar, restaurant, and a hotel here. And I'm not thinking anything of it. So we sit at a table like this. And he comes and he goes, oh, he gives me a hug. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited to see you, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, I'll be right back. And he leaves and he goes to the bar. So I'm just sitting there twiddling my thumbs like, this dude comes, sits right in front of me and goes, hey, how's it going? I'm like, hi. He goes, yeah, I'm Michael Palladini. It's nice to meet you. I'm like, what the fuck is about to go down here?
Yep.
That happens. In the meantime, another lady, gorgeous red hair, comes. Hi, my name's Ann Dimmick. What the? Cameras or something?
Am I getting punked?
Yeah. So Mike and I just shoot the shit and we click and we talk and I get him to taste Middle West. I get him to taste all the spirits that are in Ohio, different things he's never had. And I'm now clicking with Ann too at the time. And that's how the story of Penelope goes. And so when he goes back to the hotel, he tells my former friend, like, she has to work for us. She has to do that. But remember, I'm now a nurse. I'm good. I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
I think some time goes by and he's like, we would love for you to help us in Ohio. And I was like, well, what does that mean? I don't understand. Oh, just do tastings in the stores and all this other stuff. And I'll never forget. He then, my friend at the time then sends me an Excel spreadsheet of 200 stores in Ohio. And I cold call every store in Ohio. 200. And I would book tastings that way.
Oh, wow.
And that's how my journey starts in the whiskey world.
Yeah.
And not only that is, I'm calling and they're guiding me and telling me what to say and all this other stuff. They send me, the kit and everything, and I'm in Chateau, I'm in Kroger. I'm that girl going, would you like to try some whiskey? Would you like to try some whiskey?
I'm the girl going, yes, please.
Yeah. And so I was still nursing and I was working Penelope. And, I still have my car till today. It's a vintage car now, but I would be driving from here to Cincy, Dayton, Cleveland, doing all this for Penelope. And at the time there was some, rough roads where, the broker didn't want to have anything to do with me. And I'm like, well, fuck it. I'll figure it out myself. And I did. And I would work, my regular job and around between 5 and 10, 5 and 11. I would be in bars and restaurants with my backpack. You want to try some whiskey, And that's how I did it. And 11 o'clock to 12, to about 2 in the morning later on, those were the research and development hours that Mike would not sleep. And so those were the times when we would all get on the phone and talk and things like that. And I did it for a while. And then burnout happened with nursing and I was experiencing some toxic work environments. I was experiencing microaggressions, racism, because it's stuff I don't talk about. And every now and again, if I'm comfortable, I will. But I experienced it. And so it got to a point it was getting to me. And so I left my nurse practitioner position and I took a travel job with Cleveland Clinic, the best hospital in the world for cardiology. And I took a travel contract with them And I was one of the most experienced nurses on the floor. And that was rough because they had experienced a massive exodus, like 700, 800 nurses left.
Wow.
So I would help. That was rough. I mean, they would put me on any floor. And I'm like, I don't know anything about hemonc. I don't know anything about, palm. Like, what the hell, man? And then they'll put me on a neurology floor and I'm seeing my patients flipping BP at 250 over 180 and cardiac is freaking out, but neurology's like, no, that's what we want. And that sort of stuff. So I would work, and I'll never forget it, the craziest cases. And I would work 17, 19-hour shifts, and I'll drive back down to Columbus from Cleveland. I remember one time I had a project I had to do. I came home, washed my clothes, my nursing clothes, because Cleveland, we're all white. And I would, put that away, and then I'll put my distillery gear on, drive on to Indiana, work with Brian Smith out of Hard Truth. That's how I met Brian Smith. Love that man.
Wow.
And then I'll drive back, change my stuff, drive back to Cleveland, work two shifts.
Brian Smith from Cincinnati, Brian Smith?
Brian Smith
McBrayer.
from Hard Truth.
Oh, Hard Truth. Oh.
That's how I met him. And so I would go back to Cleveland, work my shifts, and it was 17, 19 hours, and it was taking a toll on me. But I did it, and I pushed, and I grinded, and I did it, and I pushed, and I grinded. It got to a point I was getting tired, and Mike was seeing it. And he's like, you can't keep running like this, both ends at the same time. And I'm built different. That's how I operate. That's how I am. And now I think it's 2022. I've been doing this for about a year, 2 years. About a year, 2 years. And he goes, think about going part-time, full-time with us. Remember, I'm coming from a world where comfort, doctor, lawyer, accountant,
Regular paycheck.
Yeah, and that's how we grew up, is our parents were like, we have a good job and so on. And these are conversations I've been having with my cousin lately going, when we look back on our life, we were taught that's what you do. But when you come here, the sky's the limit. But we don't really understand how much the sky is the limit is. So he kept on saying that to me. And I think by 2022, my travel contract is ending December 22, 2022. And, that's when I'm wrestling with God going, what do I do now? I'm too scared to leave nursing, but what do I do now? Do I go full throttle with Penelope? What do I do now? And December 22, 2022, my contract ended, and I picked up the phone. I called Mike. I was like, okay. And I was crying, and I was scared, and I was like, okay. The next day, Danny calls me. Danny's very quiet. He's very soft-spoken. I'll never forget him. He goes, hey, how's it going? He's like, I heard you said yes. And I was like, yeah, I did. And then he's like, listen. And I'll never forget what he said, because he was like, we're all scared. We don't know what we're doing, but we have each other. We'll make it. We'll get through it. We'll get you through it. And I was so scared. And mind you, I didn't tell my mother that I did what I did. It's coming out now.
She killed you.
She would kill me. And sure as shit, I walked away, and I went on to work full time with Penelope Bourbon, and we worked together, and we built it, and it blew the fuck up.
Yeah.
Never knew that that's what would happen. And regardless of how it ended, I can never take away that part of my life and my chapter. That's how I came to be and how I ended up being in the industry. Mm-hmm. And during my tenure there, Danny would help me. Danny started kind of consulting, like asking me, like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And I would give my opinion. And, whenever he had time, we would do it together. And so that's kind of how that story happens,
That's all.
So, yeah.
That's a great story.
Okay,
It's a crazy story.
It is.